should have. John, do you have a copy of it?
I'll get it.
Gosh, that paper up there's too, John. Yeah. I don't know what that means.
That's good. There's one beside it.
The one down
There you go. Now everybody had a chance to look at the agenda. You know, approve the agenda.
So moved.
We have a motion, we have a second.
Second.
Motion and a second, approve the agenda, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, we'll move on to the fiscal 23-24 fiscal year budget. I think, Beth sent out a punch list item to everyone about, the discussion was if we could do a COLA, 1% would cost $261,000, 1.5% be $391,000, or 2% be $521,000. And she gave a list of options of basically some capital stuff here that could be done for each one of those percentage points. So we just want to open that discussion because I don't think there was any other discussion in the budget that we needed to cover, if I'm not mistaken. Although I would like to ask one question. And did we have anything allocated this year to the health clinic, to the free clinic?
We had, for the ARPA dollars, we had initially given out $150,000, which
Right.
they spent. And then we had a second allocation that was approved for $100,000. And we had that conversation in my office a few weeks ago about wrapping things up for year end. My guy's on vacation and works on that, so I do not have an answer as to 100% whether or not it's been spent, but I believe it has.
But we don't have anything in this upcoming
We
budget.
do not.
Okay, I just, after the events, boy, there comes that air conditioning, it's already cold. Anyway, I just was, the news about it closing last night, I guess I wanted to ask that question. And if there's anything left and they're not there to bill that, I don't know how we'll handle that, but, supposedly there may not be any left anyway, so, there he is.
Good morning.
Right on time. Last man in brings praise.
Not a problem. Can I go back out?
You already dropped it off, didn't you?
Yeah. All right, so we'll open up that discussion about the 23-24 fiscal budget. If there's not any other talk, we'll talk about this cost of living and get some people's thoughts on that.
Can I start?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Kind of separate, but also together. I want to ask April and Amanda if they'll just speak to us briefly about some of the things we talked about in our meeting Monday as it relates to people who were or were not affected by the salary study and how so. And in my mind, this does connect, but it doesn't connect. I think cost of living is to be a conversation as we know it, whether there was a salary study or not. But I do think, because sometimes when we make decisions, or for me, I don't know the effect that it has on our employees if I don't hear from them. You know what I'm saying? And I think even the health insurance that we just covered, I think there's some concerns where employees are affected by that decision that we made. Mr. Sampson may have something as well, but I know those two from the other night. So I want to hear from them if I can before we have our conversation.
I appreciate y'all taking the time to look at the budget again. Since Monday night, I've been approached by a lot of my staff. I don't know where the number 18 came from, but I have 17 people just on my staff that either didn't receive anything in the salary bump or received less than $500. It was like $300 and something. The new insurance, there was an increase in the premiums for family coverage and dependent coverage, so they're having to pay a little bit more this year than what they did last year.
You know how much more?
I don't know, do you know that, Bill, how much the premiums are?
I'm gonna defer that to Lori. I do not know what the new prices are.
While she's looking at that, I had one staff person that come to me, he's diabetic. He said with the previous health insurance, he paid 0 coverage for his diabetic medicine. Now just one of his prescriptions is $500 and something a month. And, you know, we all know that the cost of bread, milk, eggs, everything just went up, gas. And if there's no cost of living increase, then we've got staff that's like, well, I guess I'm just gonna have to start looking elsewhere for employment because I've got to provide for my family. Just at the health department, our turnover rate is like 25%. And in the last 4 years, I've had 7 nurses leave. When they look at the salary as opposed to other places, the salary is still not where it needs to be. And if there's no cost of living increase in other counties that the salary study were based on, that's bumping their employees up a little bit more, in a few years, we're gonna be back into the same place that we're not comparable with the other counties as far as salary. So, you know, there's been some major concerns with my staff as far as not getting a cost of living and then this new insurance.
I would basically be repeating some of what Miss Amanda said. I heard that number 18 too, and I thought that was odd. So I went back and looked at the salary spreadsheet that was sent to us, that listed every employee and every new salary based on the salary study. I have 22 in my department who didn't get anything from the salary study. Plus her 17, I think you said, and clearly I don't know about the rest of the county. So that's clearly more than 18. I didn't even look at the people whose increase was really not enough to blink an eye at. I didn't even start counting those people yet. So that's one thing. I agree with the health insurance. I've had people in their offices crying about it, about what they perceive is going to be the new cost. I'm diabetic. I can speak from complete. I don't know what's going to happen either because I haven't stopped long enough to figure out what I'm going to pay now. But before, all my diabetic medications, testing strips was completely free. Like that was excellent, an excellent plan for that. But that's just for me. The salary study for the social workers, which would include Miss Amanda's department, also hurt us in that we. I'll just give an example. Before the salary study, a starting investigator at DSS, I could offer them 51 a year to begin. Now I can only offer 49. So we went backwards because of the salary study. I understand the reason why. I understand the methodology. That does not help when I have 4 of my 5 investigator positions are vacant. I'm spending more money on Vanguard staff and temp staff than it would cost to pay people. On NeoGov, we can see how many people have looked at your job posting. Hundreds of people have looked. I'm not getting any applications. I've never seen it like this. I don't know if it's, I'm not attributing all of that to a salary study clearly. But something's going on. We're not getting applications anymore. I have 4 of 5 investigators empty. My social worker turnover rate is at 50%. My agency-wide is at 27%, and I'm starting to see that creep up. Part of that, I think, is that we're coming out of COVID. I think that's natural everywhere. People are starting to move again, right? We just don't want to move them from us to Richmond County, or Moore County, or Robinson County. I've lived that life as a director, and that was starting to really stop. It really was. We were not seeing other counties taking our social workers. I just don't want to get there again. So that's my spiel. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, and after DJ finish, I'd like to.
I'm done. I just wanted to hear from them. I want us all to hear from them.
Thank
you. Mr. Sampson, you have anything to share?
No, not necessarily on the salary study. I currently don't have anything, but I'll just echo exactly what April, Amanda have already mentioned about the insurance. I have 4 diabetics just within my department, and all 4 of them they're highly concerned about the potential extremely increasing costs with medications and their supplies that they're going to need. They did follow the instructions and met with the group the day that we had our meetings with the insurance company during the lunch, and they just really didn't get the answers that they were looking for as far as what are going to be some potential options to kind of at least get to what they know today. And they didn't get those answers, so they have a lot of concerns as well.
Mr. Chairman, I want to go back to basis and then we go from there. The increase that we're talking about, does it come out of the property tax pool of money?
Yes.
Okay. And this year was what, 22 million?
I don't have it in front of
Are you
me.
talking about property taxes?
Yeah.
We collected around 20 million.
20 million.
Yes, 20 to 21 million.
How much of that do we allocate already?
Well, we haven't really allocated any of it technically, so
I mean, what we're proposing already,
it's all allocated, right?
it's all allocated. Okay. That's why I say we need to go back to basics. Now, in order to give any money, we have to do one or two things. We have to raise property taxes or take money from some other department that we already have considered funded. So all the concerns, we share the same, and as far as the diabetic thing, I guess I have admitted underlying issues, and we all can, many of us can understand these concerns. But to do it, to give any more money, we're gonna have to raise property taxes or take money from some other department. That's exactly where we are.
No, yeah, I want to speak on that.
John, let me ask, do you have this that she sent out yesterday? I don't see you have it.
No, I don't have it.
Can you get him a copy of that?
I want to speak on that for a minute.
Have you seen it?
You don't have it either, do you?
I got it on here. I pulled it
Okay,
up.
okay.
But I understand it. I understand.
Just to, well, not necessarily respond to John, because all of us.
Yeah, just have your own thing.
Everybody got their own opinion.
That's right.
I appreciate the fact that you ladies will come and give your department, give an update on what your employees are going through. I've heard it too as well, about premium and medication.
It's real.
We don't want our employees to feel as if we don't think about them from year to year. We have to do our budget with them in mind as well. That's why we're meeting this morning to try to troubleshoot this thing, see if there's any way possible we can help our employees. Retention is important, and we can't take them for granted, or some other county will take them. That's why we're here. I asked Beth a question. Pretty sure we had lapsed salary this past year. Not every position was filled. Sure of that. And we owe it to our employees to look to see, and if we can't, and we drain the pond and nothing there, that's fine. But that's why we're here. We're here to see, can we find them a COLA? These folks are living through real life issues. And they need to know we care about them. That's all I'm gonna say.
Yeah, I'd like to
And you can't give a raise though based on finding money from lap salary, because next year,
I'm just saying, look for ways, John. I'm not saying necessarily look at lap
I'm
salary.
not arguing your point.
Well, let me say this about the lap salary part. That lap salary is in the budget. It's anticipated in the budget. So it is not, there's not money laying there that's, you know what I'm saying, that we can.
But even if you did it,
So the way the budget has been done in the past is that lap salary is taken into consideration. And as, I guess, positions that are not filled, or if you see turnover, different things, that an adjustment was made. So in the salary line item, there might, if we had, we'll just say a department that had a position that was vacant, and we knew it would probably not be filled, there might have been 50 to 60,000, I'm just using one example, that would have been removed from the payroll figure for that department. So if you had, we'll say $150,000 budgeted for one department for payroll, and you took out, 25 to 50,000, you're only left in the budget for payroll $100,000 to spend. So so those funds were basically reallocated into your other either capital projects or your operational, and did not sit there in your payroll.
But in reality, as the year progresses, there would generally be more money available through lap salaries than what we've anticipated at the beginning of the year.
Possibly.
I asked Beth this question, and I think it's pertinent to the conversation. 2 years ago, in 2021-22, the actual amount of dollars that we spent on salary and benefits was $20,940,148. A year later, we budgeted, and this is the year we're currently in, or not yet finished with, so we don't know the exact figure of actual, but we budgeted and spent most of this, $23,530,098, which is an increase of about 2.6 million. The amount of money that is in the budget that we're currently talking about for the coming year is $26,788,820. In 2 years, the actual budget spent and the amount of money we budgeted this year is a difference of $5.8 million. And at the same time span, starting however many years ago, we have gone down from $1 and so many cents on the tax rate down to where we finally got it below a dollar. We're at 99 cents. I don't think you can continue to increase your budget for salary and benefits anywhere near the rate we're doing and not increase the tax rate. I think to go back, I'm not standing here saying that's my recommendation. I'm just saying, I don't think you can nickel and dime other departments and expect to make up for that kind of money. And I think when we start looking at some of the places we're talking about taking that money from to come up with a percentage, I think that's what we're doing to some departments.
There's just, if we don't use sound business practice in doing this, you're gonna raise taxes. Because next year or the year after, you're not gonna have the money. And you can look at then reducing somebody's salary. And this is the way we're headed. I'm just telling you, if 4 people wanna go back and try to give increases after the study was done and it showed us facts and not opinions where our people stood, and we know it was low, and it's been low for most jobs for the last 15 years, for most jobs. But we had to pay based on that, our property tax collection. There's no other way. There's no, people say, go find the money. Just look at the amount of property taxes we collect. We keep a couple of million on the books, never get it, for those that don't know. And I'm forgiving, and I think everybody here would agree, I give folk the max when it comes to evaluation and increases. I believe in the max. But our max have really not been what we wanted to be. There is now some growth in Scotland County. Things are itching up, but we've already given all that we
Well,
are
you
taking in.
asked that 39, or 17 and 22, just from those two departments.
Beth, are we budgeting out of the fund balance this year?
We've got a few items that are coming out of fund balance, but most of those are one-time expenses. We do
Don't
not.
we budget out of the fund balance about every year? About 300,000?
Depends, like I said, most of that is including capital projects and like I said, one-time purchases. We have used fund balance as a budgetary, I guess, balancing figure with nothing really applied to it, but we try not to use an extra nomical amount.
Well, and like she said the other night, you don't want to budget an ongoing,
Well, we usually put back
Salary.
into the fund balance too.
well, yeah, but
You know,
but
so-
you don't want to budget an ongoing thing out of the fund balance, because
Yeah.
then next year, what do you do?
You're not saying-
And if you don't going, then your fund balance goes.
We did that one time.
And I know
Came
that's,
down and.
and the fund balance went down and we like got in trouble over it.
We got in trouble.
Okay, well, I was, okay.
Mr. Chairman,
I
Beth
was here,
did
we got it.
email us some options. Are those worth considering for anybody or not?
Well, I do want to ask this, and this goes back into the fund balance, because you don't want recurring items showing back up. But I'm thinking that maybe a couple of those capital things, since they won't be recurring, could we consider taking that out of the fund and freeing that money up? Yeah.
And it's coming from where?
Well, my thought process is to take those non-recurring things, and I'm gonna use an example, so please don't use these as.
You're talking to have a little tax coming from the property tax.
Yes, but
Okay.
use it out of the general fund. Or the fund balance. So, and please don't, this is not a motion. It's a sample example. The 3 extra cars for the sheriff, if we took 112, instead of taking that off of our budget this year, could we take that out of the fund balance?
How many cars?
Because that's not gonna be recurring next
How
year.
many cars we normally buy?
5 to 6, yeah.
Yes, you were doing too.
But it's because we increased his personnel, so he's gotta have more cars. And, but
Jim, I speak
what I'm
with-
saying is that's not gonna be a recurring thing.
Oh, yeah.
So, for one thing, reevaluation allocation, that's gonna be a recurring every year. That's gonna go on, especially since we're approaching that reevaluation time. I think the RCC request is gonna be a recurring, that's not a one-time request, because we haven't increased them in quite a while. As far as, and they do spend all of that money in Scotland County.
Parking lot?
The parking lot at the library, that's gonna be a one-time, expense. And you see the rest of them there, so,
So you're saying the ARP funds that we moved into fund balance?
well, not necessarily art funds,
But-
but maybe, if we took $250,000 out of fund balance and adjusted it here, because only the non-reoccurring items, okay? Is that making sense, Beth, what I'm
It
saying?
does to me, yes.
That's doable.
And number one, number two, how does that affect the fund balance? But that's my only thought on it is try to do it that way, because you don't want recurring expenses coming out of that fund balance.
My recollection is that we needed to allocate ARPA funds by a certain date, which we were approaching. So we went ahead and earmarked those funds for specific projects, knowing that if we got some legislative funds or other income coming in, that we could take what those were earmarked for to do other things with. I think we all believed that we would have the need and ability to do that sometime in this coming fiscal year. Do I remember that conversation correctly?
My understanding of it, those ARPA funds are encumbered, but they're sitting in the fund balance.
And not necessarily all earmarked.
And not.
Well, I think they had to be kind of generally earmarked, but we knew that those funds would be freed up to do other things.
Beth, has that look like she's got the answer to that question?
Well, I don't know if I have the answer, but,
Can we use some of that ARP money for any of these items that you sent us?
Let her explain what's going on with that ARPA.
so we have to file a report every April showing what we've spent these funds on. The plan this year, and I believe the state has kind of pushed everybody to close ARPA out by June 30th. So at the end of actually at the end of March, we had roughly $4.2 million, $4.7 million that we had not spent. We already had some projects that we had allocated dollars to, but if we had not spent dollars on those, that went back to the 4.7 that we're looking at revenue replacement. That is where the state has pushed us to go. So that is as far as some of the other projects and all, I think once we get past this fiscal year, get everything closed out, I think we can still use those dollars to go to the project that you're referring to. We're just not setting that aside at this point because we have not sent we have not spent a dime.
But how much of that 4.7 have we encumbered or?
That is, I have that worksheet. or-
Because the last number I remember was 1.4 that we had not. We might not have spent it, but we hadn't uncovered it. Yeah.
So getting back to my question, can we use any of that art funds? Can we use any of that with any of these items that you sent us?
I'm looking at that worksheet. I haven't got one.
But you know, guys, also the sales tax has increased every year. I mean, could we not use money off the sales tax for this? The increase on the sales tax? Have we got,
I would assume the
That's already
increase has
been
been,
taken into
it's been
consideration.
calculated into the.
it's already been calculated in.
No, we do know when you have some money, but you don't wanna stretch it out because you can't continue to do it, you can always give a bonus. That's always an option. We can give those persons that money as a bonus, as a one-time deal, and then if you can do it the next year, rather than
Our sales tax is gone.
having to raise tax, put
So that's
yourself in
what
a
I'm
position
saying.
to raise tax.
Sales tax.
That's what we were doing when we
I think
stretch it.
budgeted what we conservatively.
This year. We're trying to do
The increase will be next year.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh,
So I've
well,
got,
I think-
I've got something from February. That. I want you to look at this because I don't know for sure. what
Mine's gonna be a little different because this is what we used to report back.
Right, that's, right.
He used the middle of that, what we have.
Here.
Those are people who work for them, but work over here. So they have RCCs. They're not contributing to.
1.4 million. So we started that one, so
Doesn't have to be
6.7,
but no,
so that would be about $8 million.
No, that's what we got in the grant funds. That's what we allocated.
If you've got.
Okay.
Is this clause, that's what we already have.
Top page. Yeah.
And that's-
Right.
It's a salary.
Well, we got 4 different conversations going on here, so what was your question?
What he's saying is, the ones that didn't get your raise.
Can you say it loud so everybody can
Are
hear?
they already, the ones that didn't get the salary raise, are they already at the standard pay for that?
They're within that new range.
That's what I'm saying.
Yes,
I
yes.
mean,
And see, and that's what we are, we're trying to, make everybody.
I understand that, but I'm just
Yeah.
wondering where that salary is now.
But Commissioner Frizell, for me, I'll go back to my opening statement. I see that we did the salary study because it was the right thing to do.
Mhm.
For me, cost of living is considered because of inflation. So whether we consider the salary study or not, I think we still should be talking about cost of living, if that makes sense. Not just those. Even if we can't do it, I think it's and inflation is real.
And I do understand that. I know all about inflation. Believe me. But you know, the money's got to come from somewhere.
Well, we've got
I mean-
options in front of us.
I mean, but is that options we willing to take away?
I mean,
What did you find out with?
So, when we started out with 6.7 million in ARPA funds. When I sent the report in, as of March 31st, we had allocated 1.9 million to projects. We had 4.7 that we reported would be applied to revenue loss. Now, as far as how we handle that at year end, I've got to get more information, and I don't want to sit here and say yes to, Commissioner Williams' comment, because I don't want us to get into trouble spending something we probably shouldn't spend.
Well, my understanding, the last report we got was 1.4. Is that not what you
I'm
remember?
with you about.
And that takes out what we had allocated, like to the North Turnpike and I think the Partners in Ministry, what some that we had allocated for that. And it was somewhere in that range. I was just wanting to make sure or find out, we haven't changed any of that allocation since that time.
The allocations are still there for what we started spending. If we had not spent a dime on any of the projects that got rolled up into that 4.7 for revenue loss.
Do we know what those projects?
I've got a list.
Yeah, read those off.
Do you want the ones that we had open?
Read them
Okay.
all. Read what we allocated out to.
Okay, so for DSS swap, we allocated, in the original request was 400,000, and we modified that, and the current allocation was
I'm sorry, current was what?
50,000,
What was that for?
DSS swap. And I can send this list to you guys if you want me to.
Yeah, we do that.
And I'll just run through what we got. We spent 3,375 in medical supplies for AEDs. The community health clinic, 250,000. Church community services, 75,000. The EMS Wagram site, 9,000. Sheriff supplemental pay, 1.1 million. The vaccination incentive program, 158,000. Family promise, 10,000. Domestic violence, 35,000. The Gibson projects, 136,000. Scotch for Youth, 25,000. Storytelling Arts Center, 50,000. The Humane Society, 25,000. We had some expenditures at the Laurel Hill Community Center of 13,000 and Great for 25,000. So that totaled 1.9 million in allocations.
No, that's whether we've spent it or not.
Right.
But a lot of those we've already spent.
This is what we had, yes, this is projects we had already spent. Now, some of the other ones, as I stated before, they're on the list, but as far as a current allocation, I've got 0. And those numbers rolled back into that revenue loss amount.
That 750,000 for the North Turnpike would have to come out of that as well. right?
That's correct, and then we adjusted for that.
But I just want to make sure we're not, when we say revenue loss, did we budget that into
That
our,
is not in,
it's not counted in any of it?
No.
Okay.
no, that will, by the time we close this out, that number will roll into fund balance, and I believe some of these other projects, if you guys are looking to pursue, that we probably can pursue. I've still got to get more information because that was more of, I think, what the conversations that took place with that were more on, I think, the county manager calls, and I have very little information on what I can and can't do.
Well, I know every time they have that call about that art money, the strings change. That's the problem. And we're always chasing that rabbit, and we don't know which way that rabbit's going to dart the next time. So, but hopefully we're coming to the end of that. So, but now the projects that you're not counting in that, the projects that you're not counting in that, do you have a list of that? This is stuff we've said that we've committed to.
Do you want amounts too, even
Yeah,
though,
yeah.
okay. So, Partners in Ministry, 300,000.
Wait a minute, I thought we had 175 for that already.
I'm reading off the list I've got. I don't know.
Is that same list you sent us,
This is different.
Yeah, this is,
updated?
I don't remember that.
This is
What's
the
on
old
the
one from
list?
still after.
I remember the 175 partners administrator, I don't remember 300,000, but anyway, go ahead.
Okay, IE Johnson, 2.2 million, broadband, 500,000, the water system, 750,000. Partners and Ministries on here twice, I'm not sure why. There was another 210,000.
Yeah, they came back and said
They
they
asked
asked
for,
we
yeah,
did.
they asked for another 200,000.
Tis the Season was, had 300,000. Family Promise initially asked for 200, well, we
A
reduced.
lot of those
that.
weren't approved though.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say, yeah.
Yeah,
Look,
Maybe we didn't give
You
them.
call the ones
But
that-
Kevin left them on here. I'm looking at
Yeah,
them. They're still on here.
Didn't the second time.
the Viper radio system, 1.2 million, and I believe we found other means for that.
Did.
Scotland Yard was 300,000. And that's all I've got.
All right, so we know the broadband issue, we're not having to spend the 500,000 on it because the other two companies, Focus and Spectrum, have come in and we did allocate, I think, 25,000 to the Spectrum deal. So those are being taken care of. So that's an item that could come off of that proposed list. I'm not sure about those two partners in ministry requests. I know
We didn't approve the second one.
Yeah, that's my recollection.
well, that's three, because we had 175 for the building. And then there's two more here, 300 and 210. I don't remember those two. I don't think we did anything on those two. But with that said, IEJ, of course, that's gonna be, we're already in that, so we gotta honor that. The water district's in there.
Well, let me back up on that one because that was, these were items that were removed, so we didn't take any dollars out of this.
No, I know. I'm just saying, but I know we approved the water project, but 'tis the season, we didn't approve anything for it, so that's 300,000 of, and I'm not counting this, but, and Scotland Yard's okay, and the Viper radio's okay. I guess my point to that is if you take out what we know that we're not gonna have to spend of that proposed money, that's 800,000 just between the broadband and the 'tis the season.
How's this gonna help us do what I'm getting lost somewhere.
I think what he's saying is if we can use some of these funds for some of those one-time things that are on your paper, like the sheriff cars,
Okay, I'm
then
done.
that'll give us some free money in the budget,
Right.
Okay.
in our operating.
But with that in mind, keep in mind, we're gonna have this, we're gonna be back here next year having the same discussion.
Figure out where to get it from.
Trying to figure it out, yeah.
So,
I'm looking at some of the modifications from the art, the allocations. There's several that have changed. And, the supplement pay for the sheriff department increased by,
What'd you say that number was?
it went to
For-
600.
Sheriff supplement?
This supplemental, 1.1 million.
We got
I
300,000.
got 300, that's an $800,000 difference. And
There
supplement pay,
was-
that's high.
There was a modification of 800,000 because what we've done is since the ARPA funds were put in place, we have used a portion of the sheriff and the jail salaries and allocated toward this. That's the only departments that salaries and benefits hit. And so if you take the first year and the second year, that's your $800,000 difference was the 300 in the beginning, then the 800 that picked up what we had spent for the, between the two years we've been playing with this.
Tom? Okay, I got you. I'm looking at supplemental.
When you finish, I want,
go ahead.
this is kind of a long speech, so y'all let me finish it. When you're giving employees raises, it need to be as it's guaranteed and it's permanent as you know how to do it. You're talking about buying houses, cars, sending kids to college. When I came on this board 20 years ago, I was elected because the tax rate was $1.10, projected to go up to $1.48, which is the highest you could go, I think it is. And we were looking at raising the current board had already said your taxes next year is gonna go up to $1.15. Okay, those are facts. That's what the board was, because they had made a decision based on some of the things we're talking about now. Okay? I ran on the campaign 20 years ago. If we apply general business practices, our taxes will come down. But you have to apply them. You can't be how I feel, it can't be emotional, you can't do what we are talking about, I can tell you that. So we have come down to 99, from $1.10 to 99. We can continue to come down or hold it flat. I don't suggest we come down because of what we're talking about now. We have got to do something permanently for our employees, so if growth dictates you can go up, if the ad valorem taxes come in at substantially higher, and we know we have some things in the works, industry coming in, so things are gonna get better. But until it gets better, we don't have anywhere to go with our discretionary spending. Most of the money that comes in this county is mandated. It's not discretionary out of this 21 million we just quoted. I doubt there's 1,500,000 in there that's discretionary. Did y'all know that? It's already mandated how we should spend it. So that's where we are right now. And I'm saying if we cannot give a raise that we can leave out there, because folks gonna go back, they're gonna buy houses and cars and send their kids to college based on their salary. And the last thing you wanna do is start taking away something. And did y'all know we've done that several times? Right, Whit?
Right.
We've had to take away benefits to keep from raising taxes. And that's really doing it on the back of your employees. We don't want to do that. So if we can't give a guarantee as much as we can guarantee it based on the funds coming in as we speak, we need to give a bonus. We must do something. But that something need to be wise. Give them, if we can't give them an increase, the money we talking about with lap salary, what have you, and always give a bonus. Thank you.
All right, getting back to what we was asking you. Could you see or try to determine whether we could get some of these items from ARP money?
I can look into
Look
that.
into that.
Yes.
Well, I think my understanding of it, just going down these columns, I think the sheriff vehicles would qualify for that. Not sure about the reevaluation allocation. But the library parking lot, that's a capital item. And some of this other stuff is capital items. So I think there's a way to use it for that. I just want to make sure it's there that we can use. I mean, anyway.
I think the money's there.
I know that's, but then we would have to target which one of these are you gonna pull off the regular budget, use ARP money for, and then free up that money to go back to whichever one of these three columns you want.
You said these are not every year.
Right, that's what,
They're one
because,
time.
right, there's a one-time issue.
But we're planning to use our regular operating funds to do it.
Right.
So we do it, it frees up that money, like Ms. Officer
To do
said, and it'll be there.
That's what we want to do. If it's there, we can do it.
Right, because those extra sheriff vehicles aren't gonna be there next year. Repaving the parking lot at the library is not gonna be there next year. Parks and Rec playground improvements, I mean, it'll be there, but it'll be a
Up and
different
down.
request, yeah.
Right.
I don't think the Scats minivan will be another request next year. I may be wrong, don't hold me to that.
Beth, what about the opioid settlement funds? Could that be used for any of this? We've got
That
something called
is-
NARC down here. Is that narcotics type stuff?
Well, Jason went to a seminar yesterday, I think in Durham. on
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, and it's got, there's more strings attached to that money than there is to the, ARP. Because if you, it depends on if you do go with option A or option B. If you go with option B, there is a set schedule of strategies that you can use that for. And that's all you can use it for. And for each one of those strategies, you have to do a yearly financial report and a yearly impact report of how that, and they have to use percentages and numbers. And, I mean, and so if, I wouldn't know, I mean, I wouldn't have any idea, you know, I can say, well, you gave up this many Narcan, and I get Robert to give me, well, how many did we use? But I couldn't tell you how many private citizens got it, and they used it. I mean, I can't tell you that number. I mean, it's some of these reporting requirements, and they've not even developed some of the reporting requirements yet, according to what I found out yesterday.
Do they expect you to sit on the money, not use it?
Well, they want you to use it. It's just you've got to use it for these specific things. And I mean, it's and it has to be related to opioids only. I mean, because you can't do it, you can't give it out just for if you wanted to do a alcohol rehabilitation or an alcohol treatment, or it has to be tied to opioids.
So the short answer to that is no.
And the reporting requirements start this year, for this fiscal year, 22-23.
Are those requirements imposed by the state or the settlement?
By the MOA, by the what the MOA has said.
That settlement,
Settlement.
1% of the costs.
Yeah, I agree. So I'm saying that, you know, if you're looking at a 1%, that's $261,000. I'm quite impressed to hear that we've gone from 2021 to this proposed year of 26, almost $27 million that we've done for salary increases. Now, some of that's not salary increases because, you know, we added people.
Yeah, some of that's people.
Yeah, some of that's people. So it's not all salary increase. That's a lot.
It's also the fringes.
Yeah, the fringe benefits. So I mean, that's a lot. That's a lot of money, and I'm not saying that disqualifies
No, we
anybody.
have taken the increase in revenue and we've given it to our people.
Right, yeah,
We've done that.
exactly.
All that's good.
Well, you gotta go back to what I said the other night, that phase two, we probably wouldn't be having this discussion today as far as money for a cost of living had we just done the stage 2 of the salary increase this past March.
And not done two.
And not done 2 and 3 in March, but we did them both in March.
And in 39, is that right? Still in the dark.
Well, there's not that many.
Well, that's just two departments.
Because, well, and
We don't know
that's
about
taking
other
into effect
departments.
some people that didn't get, you know, over $500, whatever the number is. But we knew that going into the salary study. That's because their salary's already up in the range of where it should be. So they, anyway. But we wouldn't be here, wouldn't be having this discussion, is the money available for COLA, if we had not done both of those steps 3 months ago. So, but with that said, I mean, if we're gonna look at capital money that we could free up $261,000 on, you know, my suggestion to that would be the 3 extra sheriff vehicles is 112. The library parking lot, which is 130, and then 40,000 of the playground equipment, and that puts us at $282,000. And instead of putting that those would not be recurring expenses. So, and we leave the rest of it alone. Yeah, we leave the rest of it alone. Yes, taking that out of the ARPA funds and presuming I'm correct that you can do that because that's all capital.
So, well, let me ask you
Law
this.
enforcement capital, I know is.
Yes, so I need to get clarification, I guess from the powers that be, I guess on the state level of what I can and can't do with this ARPA money if we close it out. So if we can use ARPA monies, that's the preference. If I'm told, no, we can't use it for a certain project, do I have permission to use regular fund balance?
Well, we're gonna use it somehow because it's gonna go into the
That's-
fund balance.
And that's what I'm thinking is gonna happen.
And we're
I
gonna
just
show
wanna
it
make sure.
encumbered
Yes.
as income replacement. I don't think it matters.
And so and that's where I'm at, but I wanna make sure that I am correct.
I got
and
you,
not misleading
I got
the
what
board.
you're saying. But what she's saying is if for some reason they say you can't do that with it, is it okay for us to take the 280 out of the regular fund balance instead of the ARPA part of the fund balance? I know we're talking about the same pot of
We do it every year anyway, don't we?
Yeah, I would
But we
say
already
that we do allow her to do that.
If it does, but I'm 90% sure we're okay with that, but I would say yes, that would be the case. So with that said, that would make our 2024 proposed budget. Boy, is this gonna be. Please, nobody write this down that I said it, but
You should still be at the same number.
Yeah.
Because all I did was went in and pulled projects out of what we already had in the original budget, so the bottom line should not change.
Wouldn't be an add-on.
okay.
You just
I get what you're saying. Okay. So we don't need to make the budget ordinance for $261,000.
Right, but the only thing we'll have to do is we'll have to change the, COLA on the,
Yes,
Budget
that would
ordinance.
change.
and some other numbers maybe down in departmental, but no. if you-
No,
okay,
because
okay.
everything's
Just the
staying,
COLA.
Everything else.
just the COLA.
So,
That's my suggestion. That is not my motion. I will leave that up to your collective knowledge.
Say your suggestion again.
That we take the 112,500 for the 3 extra sheriff vehicles. That doesn't count the other ones now. The 130,000 for the library parking lot, as a capital, and the Parks and Rec playground, $40,000. We're not taking away from it. We're just
I got you.
moving what bucket we're getting it from. So, that comes up with 282,000. I'm not gonna get into the cents, but,
I did have a concern though. We talked about lap salaries, however we were doing it in the past. Beth, we probably need to refrain or look at practice in a different way.
we talked about that earlier, a couple of weeks ago, because I saw it in the budget, and I said, Beth, what is this? And it was already planned in the budget as a negative for that department. I won't get into the department of the numbers, but there was a negative planned in there. So really, there was nowhere, we couldn't take that out, because then it makes it go up. And then, well, what if it does happen? I mean, so you got to plan, but it's planned is what I'm saying. It's built into that budget already.
And I get what you're saying, Commissioner Williams, as far as, if we were to truly budget for every position that is available to be budgeted for, the budget that is 53 million is probably gonna be closer to 58.
Yeah.
So keep that in mind, and so we've taken those dollars that we know we're not gonna spend, and we're kind of,
Yeah,
Whittle
if
the
you look
budget
at the
down.
departments, at the top of the page, salary, it's a full if everybody's hired. And down into that budget, there's a negative number and it's lapses. Because I had to ask that, I asked that question.
And we don't need to get ahead of ourselves and in this budgetary year, predetermine what we may do.
No, I'm not thinking that, John. I'm asking.
I didn't
a
say
question
you were
about-
thinking
No, I'm thinking, I'm talking about a practice that when I asked her, it was new to me when it came to lap salary.
It is budget, it is accounted for in the budget, so. But it's like she said, if we didn't account for it, it would be much higher than what we got on there now. But then at the end of the year, you'd end up with $1 million that you haven't spent. So why not budget it in when we know that's gonna be the case?
you say hadn't spent, are you talking about this extra money's coming down or tax money that we haven't spent?
No, the salary money we had not spent.
Positions not filled.
If we fully budgeted it, which is fully budgeted at the top of the page for the department, but then down in the department, it comes up with a negative amount, and that's for the, as an income part, because we're not spending
It's
the
a, it's
salary.
carryover fund.
Exactly, well, the salary for last
Yeah,
year.
and I'm saying, you want that to be you don't want to spend it.
Or budget for it,
But it
yeah,
would
yeah.
be spent when you don't have to. So when something does come up,
Well, that's what I'm saying, it's accounted for in the budget now, but,
but anyway, can we agree that what we have decided now, put that in the form of a motion?
You want a motion?
That'll solve that problem, we can move on.
All right, Mr. Chair, Board of Commissioners, I'd offer a motion that we take the 112,500 for the 3 sheriff vehicles, the 130,460 for library parking lot, and the 40,000 for the Parks and Rec playground improvements, and use fund balance funds to cover those items, and then approve the 1% COLA at $260,920.
all right, so we have a motion and a second, any more
I'll second
discussion?
it. DJ made the motion.
I'm in favor of what you're doing. Is that, by having it come out of the fund balance, does that allow us to take it out of the
ARC funds.
ARPA funds?
Yes, that's what the ARPA funds are.
Because
now,
they're
the
parked in the
balance.
fund balance,
They're
right?
in the fund
Okay.
balance.
Is that,
So if I can ask for you to,
Say ARP.
yes, first, and if that is not
Okay.
allowable, then regular fund.
Right,
Okay,
just take
that
it out of
works.
fund balance.
So you amend your.
I amend my motion to say from ARPA funds first, and then if not, then we'll go the other route.
You
Do fund balance.
you redo your second, right?
That's fine.
I redo my second.
All right, good enough. Any more discussion? Any more questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, that moves on to the budget ordinance, and you says will remain the same dollar amount, 53,546,672. So if there's not any other discussion about that, we will need a motion to approve the 2023-24 proposed budget, ordinance that will need to be approved.
so moved.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Want to make sure Adam got all that in the minutes for the dollar amount. You good, Adam?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, all in favor?
Yeah.
Any opposed? All right, thank you. The budget is done. Then we'll move on to the North Turnpike Water Project discussion that we started the other night, but we're gonna finish today, I think. Oh, yes, you can.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for allowing me to speak briefly. And before I go too far on this, I'd just like to say that it's something that the finance officer and I worked together on, and kudos to her for the knowledge that she has about some of the process involved. It's been a tremendous help, but I think the proposal the board was looking at was to contract with Mr. Blackwell to supervise the project, and then a separate engineer to do the construction component. Beth and I talked some about the Minnie Brooks Act, which actually gives the board great flexibility in contracting with engineers and for professional services. And it appears from my reading of it, and I think Beth concurs with this, that if you have a engineer whose fees are going to be less than $50,000, the board does not have to put out requests for qualifications, but you can enter into a contract for those services without going through that additional procedural process. It's a request for qualifications, not a request for bids, and that's an important distinction. You do not have to, in fact, you're discouraged from looking at the cost on the RFQs. So I think for the initial contract, you've got an engineer whose projected services, according to the paperwork that he sent in, would be a good bit less than $50,000. And he is the engineer who was involved with establishing and constructing water districts 1 and 2, and also with the maintenance of those up until he retired. So if you choose to do that, I spoke with Mr. Blackwell, and he indicated that if you engaged him, that he would write the RFQs for the larger project, so that you get the qualifications in for other engineers. Frankly, when you get those in, you basically have free rein to contract with whoever it is you choose under the Minnie Brooks Act. But there is that step of at least soliciting interested qualified engineers that you may want to look at. I would say there's probably some value to the engineer who appeared before you the other night, in that he's been involved as well with the project, but it would be up to the board to make a determination of whether you prefer to use him or some other engineering firm on that part of it. But, you have tremendous flexibility on at least the initial phase of the process. If the numbers are accurate here, you can go ahead and at least start that, and then the RFQs can be prepared fairly quickly, I believe, after that. Is that generally what we talked about, Beth, or?
Yes, that's correct.
That's where you are with that potential project.
So, and what we discussed about, or started to discuss, was about Blackwell Design actually being, I would call it a project manager rather than an engineer on it. The handout we got today is showing the design phase would cost about or not to exceed $7,500. And the construction phase will not exceed $28,000. So we're at about $35,000 based on that. The HDR, which was the original engineer, the gentleman that spoke to us the other night, I think his total was 100 and.
We're not considering.
Yeah, we're not considering that. Okay. No, we won't be talking about that. All right. So that's where we are. We do have $750,000 allocated of that ARP money that we just talked about to the water project on North Turnpike. We anticipate pulling the amount we need in difference from the water funds, which I think we have enough, $3 million in the water funds right now. Of course, we don't want to strip that dry. We want to make sure there's money in there, but I think there's enough in there to finish that project without stripping those funds, that's for sure. So the money's available, but it's up to you guys if you want to do that. I'm assuming we would have to have some kind of contract with him for that.
Yeah, anticipate doing that.
And you could draw that up however you want to do it.
You and I'll work together on that.
Okay, all right. So that's our discussion for now. I do think that, we're coming up on the summer, and it's not going to be done by this summer. I know that, but, those folks are going to go back into that water phase of not being able to get water out of their well or get sand out of their well. So, the sooner we act, the better. That will be at your pleasures.
Well, I'll make the motion to move forward.
I'll second.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
Estimated total cost, just a ballpark figure. You have an idea of what it might cost, knowing it ain't gonna be what we say, but at this point, to close.
Well, I do. But I really don't want to say it open meeting, because if you say it's open meeting, then everybody that bids on the job, their number's gonna be right there.
Okay.
And, if you bid it for $50, everybody's bid's gonna come in at 49.
I got you.
So, but I do have a number.
We will have to at some point.
Yeah.
You can whisper in my ear, okay?
Yeah.
I said what I said about the funds in the water fund balance to say that the funds are there. So,
Yeah.
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 Okay.
I kind of understand what Commissioner Frizzell saying. If we say it's $2 million today,
I
every
got
bid we gonna get is gonna be $1,999,999.
Yeah.
Where it might actually only cost us $1 million.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think it'd be in the county's best interest just to keep that, until the bids come in.
That's right.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second to hire Blackwell Design as a private project manager on this project, and our attorney to work with him on a written contract. So, all in favor? Any opposed?
Let me say this to any board members that didn't have the privilege of working with Jim Blackwell. He can get it done. He saved this county, I can tell you this, $6 million before, while I was working with him. Yeah. 6 million,
I think he saved this county a lot of money on a lot of different projects,
a lot of different things.
a lot of different projects. I think he's a great asset to the county.
It's always been.
And he's always willing to help, and I think we need to utilize that.
All right, moving on to item 4, the former East Laurinburg Town Hall. We left some stuff out to talk about on it. There was some mention of some opioid money maybe used in that process, but I don't think we're there yet. I mean, not with the strings that's attached to it right now. But, I know Mr. Samuda is trying to make plans for his rehab services. I know Partners in Ministry is waiting to hear to see what we want to do. I haven't heard anybody that was interested in entertaining selling it to the union for their unsolicited amount, $25,000. So, we do need to decide what we're going to do on that, or what we're going to be able to do. I did find it interesting that Mr. Samuda's proposal said that he wanted to use it from 8 in the morning to 2. And then Partners in Ministry said they wanted to use it from 2 to 7, which maybe that's convenient. I don't know how the two would overlap, because I don't think you should be.
Well, the only issue we have with Samuda is that he's gonna have confidential information in there about patients and clients.
Is it big rooms in there, or separate rooms?
Well,
Or just one big room?
If you walk in and take a right, there's a big room here on the end and a kitchen. And I think that's what Partners in Ministry, maybe him too, is going to use. But down on the other end, there's a couple of offices that are locked, like where the clerk for there used to be, and some storage rooms down there that they could use for that type of equipment. But if we do that with either one of them, I think we need to have some sort of lease agreement, even if it's temporary with them.
And neither one of these are wanting to rent the space. They want this to be donated to them. Is that correct?
Well, he wants it for the first year, I think, to be leased for $1. So, well, I'm using his, because he's trying to get it going. If he had the money to go out, he'd rent somewhere else now. But Partners in Ministry, I don't suspect is wanting to pay.
And they want us to continue to pay the utilities and the.
Of course. Yeah. Well, and that might not be a bad thing to help, but I think we need to have a time on it. By this time, you're going to be doing, and Partners in Ministry is not a permanent thing anyway, no matter which way they go. They're not use it full time.
Two things. East Laurinburg, the residents there, do they have an interest in it?
Richard Revens or Tyson?
No, I don't think he has a direct interest.
Okay.
He wants it to still be available for them to rent for birthday parties, events, that type of stuff.
Okay. My recommendation number one would be, I just throw numbers out, 6, 7 people want it. Can't satisfy them. We don't have the ability to satisfy. I think East Laurinburg in my opinion, should have the first option. Whatever they wanna do with it. Second one, if they don't want it, sell it. We are doing $2.2 million of renovation over here with all the space we're gonna need as a county to take on. And all these folk, will have an opportunity if they're gonna provide a service for the people of Scotland County. Cause if we start dipping out other places, then we're gonna create a problem for ourselves, having all this beautiful space over there, spent $2.2 million and it'll be sitting there. So all these folks that are lined up that are offering service to our people, bring it on. We need you. We're developing this space. However, every service that's needed in Scotland County, as I speak, there's an agency providing it as we speak. And they have room for clients. Whether it's re-entry, whether it's social services, whether it's, you name it, after school, daycare. We are, the residents and the commissioners already providing for all of the citizens of Scotland County. But people are still coming because they have personal, they want to do their own thing. But we kind of need to step back from that. And as board members, I can definitely tell folks, I can direct people to any service that they need, veterans, etc. It's already being provided. And so when people come up wanting to add on, we just support them, but we already provide those services.
Yeah.
If I'm incorrect, somebody correct me.
Well, I will say that the people of East Laurinburg, through Pastor Tyson, have stated an interest in keeping it to be able to use it for community events. And, but if we go back for the year that we've owned it, the only people that's rented it is the union.
Yeah.
And it is out there because I Googled to rent the East Laurinburg Town Hall, and it comes up to our website where you go in and reserve it, or it tells you how much it is. You can contact it.
And we're paying the light bill?
We're paying the light bill, we're paying the grass,
The heat,
you know,
everything.
we already had to replace part of it because some of it got stolen.
Well,
And I don't know how people do mow it.
Well, I have to agree with John. I think we need to put it on the market and sell it myself.
Buy it.
Cause we got enough buildings. I mean, we got an IAJ that we want to, we want to, do something with IAJ, and we have, that place is huge. It's got a lot of rooms in it that people could rent or
We can just make available.
absolutely.
Well, my question would be, if you want to do that on East Laurinburg, do you want to sell the building and the corner lot separate?
Absolutely.
Because I think that corner lot's much more valuable than that building.
Absolutely. Get it back on the tax market.
Or you just want to,
See, if Richard, like you said, priority of East Laurinburg residents, if they don't, then that's it, part of the ministry
Yeah.
to buy.
give them first right of refusal.
That's right.
Yeah, they'll buy
Give-
it.
But what I do, I'd have it, we've had it appraised, is that correct?
Yes.
I mean,
Somebody did. I don't know.
I would,
85,000.
that's what I say, put it on the market and sell it, cause we don't, we don't need nothing else to keep up.
We don't need something that somebody don't want us to staff.
And
And then, hit us up about, well, I want to rent it, or let me rent it for $1. And you got different groups that want to feel as if they should use it also.
Let's do
So,
it. If you do a private
if y'all
survey,
want to split it out, I think you probably have to have another survey done.
I don't want to know.
I'm assuming.
Well, if we could get more for it, I mean, if we could market it different, I say survey ain't that much.
No, and I'm
You
gonna
know,
say, it's not gonna be a whole lot.
Survey is
Is there any parking?
pennies.
Is there any off-street parking for it?
It's what?
It's all on street.
On street.
It's all
Yeah.
on street market.
Then whoever get it, need that lot for parking because you can't,
I'm fine if you want to do it that
street
way.
parking is not.
Yeah, but you might have somebody want to buy that lot and build something on it. You know what I'm saying?
But I'm saying, yes, I agree with that.
And then they get the.
But if you buy the building, you don't have nowhere for your people to
Yeah,
park.
but if they want that part, they buy it too, just
We'll
at a
just
higher
sell it all,
price.
sell it all as one.
You know what I'm saying?
Oh, okay.
The-
I got
the-
you.
But they can buy it too, just at a higher price. I mean, we're about,
I got you.
The lot and the building itself appraised for $85,000 or $84,000. So I say we put it out there for, first right of refusal to.
Yeah, you have to do a private sale and to give people an opportunity to upset bid if somebody
now, would
gives you a figure
we,
you might want to sell.
would we put that with the real estate company, or do we have to put it with real estate?
You can if you want to,
Or just sell it through just put a sign up there?
whichever way you choose to do it. But whatever price that you intend to take, you have to go through the upset bid process.
Right.
Right. But you get more for it if you split it up. Because that way, if somebody buys the building, if they want parking lot, they'll buy that lot too. Or somebody might want to come in there and just buy that lot and build something on it. I don't know. I'm just saying you get more for it like that.
So that way, if they buy the corner, they get the building behind it too, then they can do what they want to with it, so. So we're talking about selling it as one piece.
No, splitting it up. Let's separate it.
I'm waiting on a nod or somebody.
I would
I say sell it.
I say sell it. and Leave it up to.
Right.
Well, I'm thinking about more money.
I know.
If
Would you hate if somebody said, I'll take the lot, not the building,
Yeah.
we still.
I would suggest.
Because somebody might not want the whole thing, might not,
Well,
they just want half
we
of it.
may put it on the market and somebody says, okay, I just want the building. Then we could cross that survey bridge. if we need to.
And that's true.
That's cool. I'm cool with that.
Well, I make the motion to sell it.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any more discussion?
I would leave, somebody's got to make some of those decisions. I would leave it up to the board chair to make some of those decisions if necessary.
Boy.
I think because I think what you may find is splitting it, you may get more money for the two separately.
Yeah, oh, absolutely.
And so I think if you market it separately, that might be better.
Absolutely get more
But
money.
I would leave that to your discretion.
Whoever get it may ask you about that lot.
They may. So, and
Thank
I don't want to build on the motion. Are you wanting to just go and take it and give it to whatever realtor? Whoever,
That's what I do.
and let them market it?
Whoever sells it.
Whoever sells it, go for it. So,
Good.
all right, so motion and a second. Any more discussion? If none, all in favor? Any opposed? All right, moving right along.
I've got something else I'd like to bring up.
Okay, go ahead.
I've heard several people earlier talk about the insurance. Is that something that the commissioners need to have a greater amount of knowledge on or hear more about? Is there anything we can do about?
I'm glad you brought that up. Because when we talked about the insurance and voted on that, I was under the impression it was the same coverage.
I've gotten word that.
But when, I'm talking about when we voted on it. I mean, I was, the way it was presented to me, and I'm not an insurance guru, but the way it was presented to me, it was the same coverage. And then we're finding out it's not.
Well, it was on a grid, remember, and it said, this is what your current, which we weren't gonna keep the current regardless, whichever way we went. Then there was a Med 2, is that the name of it? Med Cost or something? And then there was the.
But was it the two compatible right with each other? I mean, that was the way I took it.
Yeah, but it didn't go into detail. It didn't, what the problem is coming out is there may be some medication prescription changes. But the problem is that could have also happened on either one of them.
And I understood that. I understand that. But what I'm saying is I don't feel like that was the way it was presented to us. You know what I'm saying? I feel like there's some information missing there that we didn't get.
Such as,
Okay.
I'm saying what?
I mean, do you feel like it? Like there was some information
I guess-
that wasn't told
I guess
to
it's
us?
gonna be-
Well, that's what I'm saying.
You know,
What?
Well, just like what she said about the diabetic and
Insulin, I assume.
the insulin and not the medications copay and
Yeah, well, that, because we didn't go dig down into the coverages of diabetic or whatever. It just said, you know, it's gonna be tier 1, 2, 3 pharmacy and.
I got you. So normally HR, Susan does the,
Right, but what I was saying, what I'm saying is I was under the impression that it was compatible with what we had at that moment. That's the impression I was under.
Well, and on the other side of that, you don't have that chart with you, do you? That breakdown of what, that's right. HR told us at that meeting that we should go with
Another company.
another company.
What? They recommended.
They recommended a different company.
this new company.
And we said,
This company.
no, let's stay local, and we went it.
Like
Oh,
people-
so-
But the
like
only
people
big
local.
difference I understood was the enrollment piece was a big difference. I remember Miss Susan saying that the other company that she recommended had an easier enrollment process.
Enrollment, that's correct.
That's right.
More computer
Yeah.
savvy, that type of stuff.
But
I didn't see the benefits being a big difference in the company that you recommended and the company that we selected.
What is the same is the plan design. We kept the PPO and the the high deductible health plan. The plan design was the same. But the companies, the networks are different. The way they view with the proposal that we recommended Mark III because we recommended the proposal that would include, and I'm sorry I'm winded, I just got back from Fayetteville. His proposal had the Health Map RX program included, which the price of that proposal and FCC's were almost neck and neck. But that was our proposal because number one, we had the Blue Cross nationwide network, and two, with First Carolina Care, they were a good company, but they are a fully insured company. You have more flexibility with a self-insured company. And what Mark III and the league was self-insured with the league,
That's MedCost.
MedCost, and that's the administrator. So with Mark III and the Gallagher companies, both of those were self-insured, but they were with consortiums, similar to the league. I know this is a lot of health jargon, but fully insured has less flexibility than a self-insured plan. And the self-insured plan, we can do the things with the Health Map RX that we cannot do with First Carolina Care,
Susan,
such as zero copay for
are you
preventive
hearing,
meds.
are you hearing the issues that employees are having?
Yes, I am hearing them loud and clear.
And with your thought, would we not have had as many issues had we gone with who you recommended?
I think that's the correct statement, yes, sir.
I remember asking specifically about the network. And I thought I was told that it would be about the same coverage, not from you, but from the company representatives who were here.
Well, they did that, selling. So,
Well, the network turned out a little, not a little different. When it first came out to the employees, there was a link
Mm-hmm.
that was left off. And once they got that link, then we found the local providers were on there. Maybe not all of them, I can't quote that, but there was, I know at first it was a big panic about that, but they had left, or whoever left a link off about the local providers on there. Let me tell you your problem. If you want to change it, you're not too late. Here's your problem. Number one, she has only a few days to do a rollout. Your acting county manager at the time signed the contract with First Health that next day because it was approved by the board. There is an out in that contract, but we have to give them 30 days written notice. So, correct?
Mhm.
So I don't know how, if you said today, we're going to go to Mark 3, and we did a 30-day letter to First Health, there's going to be a couple weeks lapse over there or crossover. I don't know how we'd handle
The
that.
employees would not have new health cards by July 1.
Right, that would be a huge problem. Plus your rollouts would be, and we're confusing the devil out of them again by changing in mid. She's already done her rollout meetings.
So what is your recommendation?
It's the same that it
Same thing it
was,
was that day.
but the problem is how do we?
I
Yes,
mean,
sir.
now, at this point, what is your recommendation at this point?
I don't think the employees paying $300 or $400 extra a month will care whether they get a car by
Bill
July
has
one or not.
Well, I think
Now, my question is, they would still be covered, correct? They would still be covered if, like, if we said we were gonna terminate the contract July, so 30 days from July 2nd. Employees would still be covered by First Carolina Care up until July 7th.
But see, here's what we have. We can do, we can send them a file to electronic enrollment. How quickly either one of those companies do that, we have not sent the file yet to First Carolina Care. So they don't have any of our enrollments yet, because we've still been, making sure that the census we receive from MedCost is accurate. Because of new hires, we're trying to make sure all the new hires since then have been added. So we were gonna get that out yesterday and today. So I really don't know. We never had this happen before. So I really don't know
Well,
how quickly we could do it.
Well, let me make a warning in that.
Mhm.
If you make that change, you could have the exact same problem in the prescriptions that you're having with the other. Because they change them every year. And I have Blue Cross, and I know that they change tier 1s go to tier 3s, 3s go to 2, 2s go to 4.
But that was
I
the
mean,
case with
I
MedCost
know,
as
I know.
well.
But
But with
I'm
the
just saying
health
that
map-
that's not a guarantee that it's gonna fix that problem.
But the Health Map RX program is the one that's bringing in the preventative list, the preventative meds at $0.
And
Right.
that's
For the
available-
chronic.
That's available with Mark.
And that's available with Mark III.
But I'm
not-
saying is that preventative at $0, is what we're expecting? Or is it gonna be different than?
Now, understand, I can't guarantee anything
That's what
because
I'm-
you're talking
that's
about
what
a
I'm
huge
trying-
formulary
that's
that
all
we
I'm
would have
trying-
to cross-reference.
That's all I'm trying to say.
But
is
I'm
there ain't no
thinking the
guarantee that
potential,
we're gonna
the
solve
potential is
problem.
greater
Right.
with the Mark III plan.
We're just not guaranteed we're gonna solve the problem.
So when's our deadline to change this thing?
2 weeks ago.
Pass.
Have you communicated to the company that was
That ain't
awarded
good.
the bid what the problems are?
Yes.
'Cause
And they pretty much told us that they are limited because they are a fully insured plan. That their preventative list is based on, and correct me, Laura, if I'm stating this incorrectly, but I think it's from the healthcare.gov website. That's what the federal government considers preventative. That's what they consider preventative. But it's more broadly expanded with, when we had Health Map RX with the league, we would have Health Map RX with the Mark III plan.
If you
It's the
say,
it's the same program.
if you tell them that they either make some adjustment or we're gonna make a change, would it have any impact?
We have contacted the person for Health Map RX to submit a proposal for them, but I don't know. I can let them know that if we don't have the Health Map RX, we're going somewhere else. I didn't have the authority to
Right,
tell them
right.
that.
The
We were
problem-
just trying to work with what we had for the
The
past
problem
few
here
weeks.
is the clock's ticking.
Mhm.
And June 30th, our current insurance is gonna expire. So we're gonna have to have something scheduled June 1st. Right now, July 1. Right now, First Health Insurance is the plan. If we today said, and what is today?
June says,
The
June
ninth.
8th, June 8th.
June 8th night, if we say, here's your 30-day notice that we're not gonna do this, we're still a week into July
And they would have to do the enrollments
for a
And-
week.
for a week, and I don't know that they would be willing to do that. They might just say, okay, we just won't do it. I don't know. I'm in uncharted territory here.
Right.
I've never been here.
It's a chance to take, but I think it's worth taking to help keep our staff in a safe place.
I
Because they have that preventative with Mark III. I think it's a
And I
risk to
can
take.
call Mark Browder, and I'm sure he would make this happen, but I will never, ever guarantee that employees will have their cards by July 1.
Well, I get that. I'm talking about, we also can't guarantee that insurance, that medicine coverage that's causing the issue with First Health is gonna be solved by going over to that other.
I won't guarantee, but it will be,
The chances of
it would
winning.
be, I would say 85% better, if not 100% better.
And those,
At least we've done our due
I know.
diligence to try.
Well, and just to add to a caveat to that, I think this is about $20,000 a year cheaper than the First Health. What,
Yeah, it
cheaper?
was a little cheaper.
It was.
There was like 0.20% difference
Yeah.
in the annual
Which
cost.
was about
to the county.
$20,000.
Would you like the option of saying to First Carolina or whoever it is, or that if they can't make the adjustment that we need, that we will,
we need to give them authority.
that we are going to take a different direction?
Or would you like for us to just null and void it and move on to Mark 3?
That part. If we could
You're-
do
you're
that.
loading your
If we
wagon-
could
You're
leave.
loading your wagon doing it.
I know, but I say I
She
would bring
caught
my
a-
pillow and blanket
She
if I
done
had
caught
to make
She done
this
caught her
happen.
breath already. She can have
Yeah,
a
she,
little wagon.
she can do it.
I'm tired of folks calling them with this new issue.
Yeah, if we could tell these
Well, they're
people
calling me too.
that their medicines are gonna,
And we,
I mean, that, I had 2 leaving tears. We had a Q&A session during both days. One employee came and she had the face just was very sad, tears welling up in her eyes. She had 8 medications. Only one was at $0. The rest was gonna cost her quite a bit of money. With us being in a high deductible health plan, these employees are facing, huge amount of
So
dollars.
your recommendation is to try to move back to the other company
Yes,
as
sir.
quick as we can.
I had an employee yesterday email me, I won't state any names. She's considering waiving the coverage and going uninsured so that she can deal directly with the pharmaceutical company to get discount.
Well, I just, again, the only warning I'll throw out there is that if we do this, we better hope it makes the change we're looking for, or we're gonna be in the same
I
boat.
don't see we've got much of a
So
choice.
we don't have a guarantee, but we don't like where we are.
No.
so Mr. Chairman, I'd like to offer a motion that we terminate our contract with First
I'll second
Carolina Care.
Carolina Care and that we give Ms. Susan the authority to move into a contract with Mark 3.
I'll second that motion.
Okay. And it also turns out that contract was never audited by our financials, so that contract may be not active anyway.
So if I need to add Mr. Turner, make sure he's
Anything
involved.
that's not been,
I've already
anything that's
talked.
not been pre-audited is null and void.
Yeah, it had not been pre-audited,
So
so,
Mr. Turner.
it technically, but I think we still need to do the notice.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
but that's your wagon, you
Yes.
loaded it, so.
We ready for a vote?
We ready for a vote? Anybody, any other discussion about it? All in favor? Any opposed? All right, motion carries.
It's in your wagon.
Mr. Chair, yes, I think Susan, just as department head, what do we need to go back and tell our employees?
It's nothing yet. Nothing.
Well, it's gonna be changed to Mark 3 and the information will be forthcoming.
Yeah.
Yes,
You
that's
gotta
all
tell
we
them
can
something
say right
because
now.
they're gonna know.
Yeah,
it.
when they look-
Before you get.
Yes.
Yeah.
Get that.
Tell them we're working on
I will be on the phone immediately.
it.
I'm not rushing, just.
Yeah, tell them we're working on
Yeah.
it. We're trying to make it happen.
It looking like.
Let me ask this question.
I know.
Hit me, John.
Concerning insulin, I understand that's an issue. What is that on TV about? You won't have to pay more than $25 or something out of your pocket a month. Anybody heard that? Who is that for? That's the federal government, but I'm saying, who is it for? We don't know yet.
I'm not aware of that.
John,
Yeah, it's announced.
I think that was Medicare.
I didn't hear
that's
it.
Medicare.
I think that was Medicare, folks.
No, you trying to see people towards that? Some of us ain't got game on.
Can we move to the next item?
Okay, yeah, all right, moving on. Based on whether we go into this closed session is if you want to discuss, the applications received so far, so we can scrub that. So we'll need a motion to go into closed session.
Move, so move.
Second.
This motion second, all approved?
Aye.
Any opposed? Do you have those that you can give us, the application so far on?
Thank all y'all for being here.
Thank you.
Thank y'all.
Oh, yes.
Thank y'all very much.
Thank you.
Oh.
Good job.
I might be spending the night.
Keep us out of trouble.
But we'll get her done.
Did you learn anything?
Everybody outside,
Thank y'all.
Yes, sir.
You know,
I heard it. I heard that comment. Also heard it. You gotta do it. Well, I'm here because I would have thought because of that.
Well,
How about Tim Parker? Oh, Tim Parker.